Stephen King once said, "Fiction is the truth inside the lie." This phrase is especially true when applied to the Elder Scrolls video game series. Throughout the series, you can find many parallels and similarities between it and real-life mythology. However, to go over the entire Elder Scrolls universe lore would take several hours, so I will only be doing one of the games, Skyrim, and its connections to real-life mythology.
Intro. La 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 la.
First, I want to talk about Alduin, his full name being Alduin the World Eater. Alduin is the main villain in the game Elder Scrolls Skyrim. He was the first dragon to ever be created, and in true dragonine form, he wants to conquer the world in the name of dragonkind so that he may eat the souls of the mortal races. Hence the title World Eater. I always like to imagine what would happen if Alduin and Smaug sat down for a cup of tea to discuss their respective problems. It'd be all like,
"Damn hobbits invading my home and stealing my stone. It's not enough that I have to put up with the EPA because of all the desolation I cause. Now these dwarves think that they can just waltz in like they used to own the place or something." "Yes, quite right, Smaug. But have you tried eating their souls? I find that mortals tend to stop being so annoying when they die."
anyway. Alduin seems to be a combination of several mythological figures. The first and most obvious connection is Nidhogg, or Nidhogg, or I don't really, it's hard to pronounce, the dragon of Norse mythology. Nidhogg's goal is also to eat the world, although his is a bit more literal than Alduin. In Norse mythology, the world is actually a giant tree, however you hand sign that, called Yggdrasil. Again, it's a very hard name to pronounce. I'm not a linguist. Nidhogg is at the bottom there, chewing away at the roots. Eventually, he'll eat enough of them that the world tree dies and everyone else dies with it. In some of the myths, he is also said to be eating the souls of the dead, just like Alduin. Alduin also has some similarity to Zeus from Greek mythology. Zeus is the head of a pantheon of gods. He is also the first son of Cronus, the titan/god of time. When humanity was first created, Zeus wanted to keep humankind down and wanted to lord over them completely like the god he was. This was done by keeping things like fire out of humankind's hands. Similarly, at one point in the Elder Scrolls universe, dragons did rule the world and were worshipped as gods. Alduin was the head of this religion because he was the firstborn of Akatosh, the god of time, in the Elder Scrolls universe. And as previously stated, Alduin kept Mordenkainen from advancing too far because he wanted to rule over them and use them as midnight snacks. In Norse mythology, the Draugr are supernatural creatures, undead. They can change their size at will. They possess superhuman strength, are intelligent, enjoy driving people insane with their mere presence, and have the ability to become incorporeal and swim through the ground. They are malicious guardians of old burial sites that kill people in horrible ways, like crushing their victims to death by increasing their size, but also taking them and hacking them to pieces. Also, eating and drinking their blood. Yeah, it's pretty dark and horrible. Draugr can only be killed if they are completely burned to ash. The Draugr in Skyrim aren't so lively, but they are similar in that they protect old tombs and use various sharp implements to try to hack you to pieces. Since Skyrim is a video game, when you first meet the Draugr, they aren't so hard to defeat. Over time, however, as your levels increase, they become very tough enemies with large amounts of health and special abilities that are unique to them and the player. It may be worth noting that in life they were also servants of the Dragon Cult, the religion surrounding the worship of Alduin and the other dragons. Since we are on the topic of religion, let's segue into one of the many afterlives in the Elder Scrolls universe, Sovngarde. It is an afterlife created by Sjor, the Nordic god of creation. It is a place where Nords who died glorious deaths on the field of battle gather to eat, drink, and fight until they follow Sjor out into one final battle. It is also where Alduin goes to replenish his energy by eating the souls of mortal men. It is rather obvious to anyone with even a passing knowledge in Norse mythology that this is taken straight from Valhalla, the Hall of the Slain. Valhalla is a place where Norse warriors are brought to by Valkyries after they die in combat. There they eat, drink, and fight for fun until the end of the world, where they will ride out with Odin, the creator of Valhalla, to try and save the world.
For Narnia!
The last connection between real-life mythology and the fiction of Skyrim is by far my favorite: the name itself. In Norse mythology, Thor encountered a giant named Skyrmir. Giants are, of course, big, and they live far away from humanity in the most coldest, most mountain-ridged, most inhospitable places in the world. They are little affected by the cold and are very strong. This is significant to the game's story because Skyrmir's name translates literally into big looking. Now consider this. The country of Skyrim in the game is far, far north, full of mountains and snow. Nords, the men who inhabit the country, are the biggest and strongest humans in the game and have a natural resistance to the cold. And, if that wasn't a big enough hint, they have actual giants roaming around in the game. When fiction is analyzed, you can find all sorts of interesting uses of old mythology inside them. Some might think that makes the writers of these stories lazy and unoriginal. However, I still find these stories and its characters interesting and engaging. There are many parallels, and instead of detracting from the story, I think it helps bring a greater understanding to it. Stephen King once said, "Fiction is the truth inside the lie," and that is what makes Elder Scrolls so interesting.